Hello, beloved, and welcome to our Believing Better series with me, Christina Patterson, as we study Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 11. In this session, we'll look deeper into the first temptation Jesus faces in the wilderness. Now, as we read last session, Jesus being tempted by the devil seems like a simple conversation. There are no raised voices, there's no cursing, there's no hitting or punching. But what appears to be an innocent conversation is actually all out war. The fate of our souls rests on how this conversation turns out. Now, we have read the passage, so we have the luxury of knowing that Jesus is victorious over each temptation. But did you notice that Satan does not come to Jesus and tempt him to sleep with a prostitute or kill a person or even steal something? His temptations are more sneaky and cunning than that. And if you have been walking with the Lord long enough, your temptations are not that straightforward either. Satan is crafty and uses the power of suggestion and lies by omission to try to trick us into falling. Listen to what Jesus says about Satan in John 8:44. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. And Satan's lies are so cunning that even the strongest of Christians is susceptible to falling if not aware and truly on guard. So as we listen in on this conversation, I want to pull out the lies and expose each one in the light of God's truth, that we may not fall for the same lies, that we may not be deceived by the enemy's trickery, and that we will better stand on and believe in God's truth as we fight to live the lives that he has died for us to live. In Jesus' first temptation, he is tempted to turn rocks into loaves of bread. In Matthew 4, verses 3 through 4, we read, "The tempter came to him and said, 'If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread.' Jesus answered, 'It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God.'" Though our translation has Satan saying, "If you are the Son of God," most scholars agree that it is better understood, "since you are the Son of God." Satan knew who Jesus was. There was no doubt in his mind that Jesus was God's son. What Satan is doing is appealing for Jesus to use his position as son to his own advantage. Satan is not questioning if Jesus can do it. He's saying, since you can, why don't you? And although Jesus could turn the rock into bread, he denies himself and restrains his power to show us something greater, to show us that life is not all about fulfilling our physical desires, even when we have the means to. That just because you can do something does not mean that you should. Just because you can have all that this world has to offer does not mean that you have God's best. Because God is greater than this world. And the last thing that he wants us to do is to be so distracted by looking at and pursuing the things of this world that we miss him. Why do you think so many rich people are so unhappy? Because being able to attain a lot and achieve a lot cannot bring you satisfaction. King Solomon tells us in Ecclesiastes that he partakes in all the pleasures of this world and still does not find any purpose in them. In Ecclesiastes 2, 9 through 11, we read, "I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. In all this my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward for all my toil. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun." Solomon spent much of his life pursuing the things that made him happy, the things that he desired, and the things that made him feel good. But at the end of it all, he looked at all the work that he did to accommodate his passions and realized it had no purpose. It could not satisfy a greater need that he had. Here we have the richest man in biblical history, and he's telling us all the world has to offer is not enough. How humbling is it to realize that the greatest physical pleasures of this world still cannot satisfy us? That if we have everything this world can provide, but we don't have God, we might as well not have anything. Jesus believed this so much that he does not fall into Satan's temptation to turn the rocks into bread. Now, I want you to picture the restraint here that Jesus must use because he's hungry. His body is telling him to eat. It's been 40 days, so obviously he's beyond hungry. Look, I get hungry if it's been 4 hours and I have not eaten. How many of y'all have gotten in a fight or caught an attitude simply because you were hungry? But I do not want you to confuse Jesus' hunger here with that of hunger that we experience if we happen to skip lunch. The hunger Jesus was experiencing could very possibly have been hunger pains from someone on the verge of starving to death. So when Satan approaches Jesus and suggests that Jesus turn the rock into bread, this would not only be to alleviate his hunger, but to save his very life. Since you are the Son of God, Satan tempts Jesus. Since you have all this power in heaven, since God is so pleased with you, go ahead, turn that rock into bread. If you don't, you might die. And then how will you complete your mission? To which Jesus responds, I don't need bread to complete this mission. I only need God. Let's not be tricked into thinking we absolutely need anything other than God to live for him and fulfill the purpose that he's placed on our lives. While we're worried about clothes and cars and Instagram selfies, Jesus is worried about our souls. He's concerned about our eternity. Jesus did not make the rock into bread, even though he could have and was on the verge of starvation, because he did not come to save himself. His purpose was to suffer, to die on the cross, and to save our souls. The enemy wanted Jesus to comfort his pain, to take away from the suffering, because he knew that if Jesus did not suffer, he would not be doing what he was called to do. When Jesus was arrested in Matthew 16:22, his disciple Peter tried to rescue him by fighting his arresters and saying to Jesus, "Never, Lord," he said, "this shall never happen to you." To which Jesus says, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." Matthew 16:23. Satan did not stop tempting Jesus to take the easy way out here in the wilderness or even while being arrested. Jesus was tempted even while he was on the cross. We read about it in Mark 15:29-32. It reads, "Those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, 'So, you who are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, come down from the cross and save yourself.' In the same way, the chief priests and the teachers of the law mocked him among themselves. 'He saved others,' they said, 'but he cannot save himself. Let this Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from the cross that we may see and believe.' Those crucified with him also heaped insults on him." But Jesus did not get down from the cross. Jesus did not stop and fight against his unjustly arrest. Jesus did not turn the rock into bread because Jesus did not come to save himself. He came to save us. Doesn't that just humble you? That he was so passionate about our salvation that he would forfeit his own. Who does that? A God that desperately loves you. That's who does that. His not turning the rock into bread was an act of obedience to the Father and an act of love to us that we might be saved. And if we receive that salvation, we too must stop trying to save ourselves. Right after Satan tempts Jesus to fight back against his arresters to avoid the cross, he says these words to his disciples in verse 24. "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it." Jesus turned away the bread because he wanted us to know that this world is not greater than our souls. We will live forever, but where we spend eternity is determined by the decisions that we make today. Will we worship God or not? Jesus is telling us not to trade our souls, the only eternal thing we have, for the temporary pleasures of this world. It's just not worth it. It doesn't even begin to compare. Thank you so much for watching this week's Beloved Women's Bible Study as we continue our Believing Better series. Stay tuned for a sneak peek at next week's video. I want to let you know that the entire Believing Better series with group Bible study guides is now available for download. Believing Better is a 4-session video study great for your next Bible study, small group, and even individual use. Learn more at belovedwomen.org. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to our email list and receive our weekly devotion, Hello Beloved, exclusive content, boutique discounts, giveaways, and more, all delivered directly to your inbox. Now enjoy your sneak peek at next week's video Bible study. I wonder how many of us, had we simply waited on God, would quickly realize that God was right around the corner of our temptation, that we did not need to take matters into our own hands, that we did not need to force a situation.